Welcome, everybody. Thanks for listening to Gun Owners Radio. Have you checked our website and social media yet? Go sign up for our email alerts by going to gunownersradio.com.
And a big thank you to Discount Gun Mart for letting us set up shop in their shop. Don't forget to check out DGM, Discount Gun Mart in San Diego on Marina, or they also have a location in Santee up by the Gillespie Field off the 67. Or go to discountgunmart.com for more information.
Put the dough back and donate. We want you to be more involved in helping to fund a Second Amendment-related organization. So please take the time to donate. This week's dough back in the donate recipient is Orange County Gun Owners. So right now, please go to ocgunowners.com and join us as a member if you are not already, or just simply make a one-time donation.
All right. Yeah, I can say the dough back and donate thing is so important. There's really, I've said it over and over and over again. There's only two tools in politics. That's people and money. And we don't think enough about how these organizations need to survive. And that takes, of course, funding. So Orange County Gun Owners is doing a great job. They just had a great election season. So reward them by going to ocgunowners.com and give them a couple of bucks, even if you don't live in Orange County.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right, now for our gun truth of the week, and this is where we get to give you facts that you don't get to hear anywhere else on the media.
The gun truth of the week. We need to come up with, Matt, we need to come up with some kind of, like a timpani or something, like a, not a drum roll, but like a really dramatic, Okay, this week's gun truth of the week. In 1994, Robert Akita published data showing that in the previous 12 months, 503,491 incidents occurred where an armed homeowner encountered a robber. Now, this is the amazing part. In 98.8%, so that's 497,646 of the 503,491, the robber was scared off by the mere presence of a gun. 98.8% of the time when when a robber encountered an armed homeowner, he or she was scared off just by the presence of a gun.
Call that a psychological stop.
Yeah, right?
Yep.
So it's pretty amazing. So in other words, when you hear that, hey, between 1 million and 3 million times a year somebody defends themselves with a gun, you think, gosh, that seems really high. Remember, we're not talking about people that actually had to even use the gun, just the mere presence of a gun when a homeowner has a firearm and a burglar tries to rob them, just the mere presence of a gun, the robber flees. So, all right, Q&A. You have Q's, we have A's. So I get Q's all week, and now I'm going to give you the A's to your Q's. First is, this came in a lot post-Tuesday, which was a great election.
Absolutely.
It's a great election locally, it's a great election federally. State, not so much. We probably lost a little bit of ground in Sacramento on the state level, but still. Anyway, and we'll talk about that. At the end of the show, we're going to talk a lot about the election. So I've been getting these types of comments, emails, texts, etc., questions that basically all are, Trump won, so we don't have to worry now. And nothing could be further from the truth. There is still a ton of work to do. Rather than think of it as like, well, our work is done, or hey, we don't have to do anything, you need to think of it like you're a construction crew and you're sitting around waiting for the tools to show up. And you can't do anything. You have this huge project, but you don't have the right tools. So you're just kind of sitting there talking, maybe you can clean up a little or swing a hammer, but the real work can't be done until, the tools show up. Well, the election on Tuesday provided us with the tools. So now we actually get to do the work that we couldn't before because we didn't have the tools. We didn't have the right people in place. So you cannot, if you just think to yourself, well, that's it, Trump's in, problem solved, you couldn't be more wrong. Right. And you couldn't be doing more damage to the opportunity that we have as far as Second Amendment activists go. So please, now is the time to work. Now is the time to get fired up. Now is the time to donate your time and your dime. So that's one of the cues. And I wanted to give you an A for it. Another one was DUIs. Got a lot of questions about DUIs. I want to make it clear. If you have a CCW and you get arrested for a DUI, your permit will be suspended. And this is the result of SB 2. So this isn't the sheriff making the decision. Part of what SB2 did when it passed is it centralized a lot of what has to do with CCW. A lot of the issuance is really the only part that isn't centralized anymore. So it's still issued through the sheriff. But the rules and the regulations and everything all got fairly centralized up in Sacramento. So now every sheriff in every county, if a CCW holder gets arrested for a DUI, their permit is suspended until the case goes through the legal process.
And what's important to know is that it's irrelevant if you had a firearm on you at the time of arrest or not.
Exactly
right.
The
fact that you have a permit, you are under a different lens.
Yep. If you have a permit and you never carry and your gun's in your safe at home and you have a DUI and get arrested, you're still going to lose your permit, even if the CCW had nothing to do with it.
And for a minimum of 8 years.
Yes, 5 years.
Well, it's 5. It's +3.
What's the +3?
Well, there's a term of your punishment, like the process of that, and then they tack on additional is it 5 or 3 at the end?
I don't know about the 3. Let me read what I got here though. If convicted and sentenced to supervision, so probation or parole, the CCW permit is revoked, and the applicant is prohibited from obtaining a CCW for 5 years after the completion of the supervision.
Right.
So if you're on probation or whatever, after everything happens, like they say, hey, you got convicted, you can't have your permit while you're waiting to get convicted. Once you're convicted, you're on probation for a year. You can't have a permit for that 1 year. And then after that year, it's 5 years on top of that.
There was something the sheriff sent out to us as instructors. It was like a 5+3. I forget the actual verbiage, but
I think the
5 after
it was the example they gave. I think it was just the example they gave.
Okay.
Convicted of a DUI receives 3 years probation. So if you get convicted of a DUI, you're most likely going to get 3 years probation. And then after that 3 years probation is up, there's an additional 5 years. That's what it is.
Okay.
Gotcha. If a CCW permit holder is arrested for a DUI and they were carrying a weapon at the time, their CCW permit will be immediately revoked if convicted and sentenced to supervision, probation, or parole. The CCW permit is revoked, and the applicant is prohibited from obtaining a CCW for 5 years after the completion of that supervision. So they wanted to really make clear here that it's whether or not you're carrying a firearm. So that's the way it is right now. That doesn't necessarily mean that's the way it's always going to be. Everybody's next question is always like, all right, well, is there a lawsuit? Not yet. There are a million lawsuits that need to be filed. There are still lawsuits that, that we're still working on. In fact, that's our next segment. Put the dough back and donate. Don't forget, Orange County gun owners, go to ocgunowners.com, make a donation, $10, $50, $100, whatever you can afford, and help them succeed.
So speaking of lawsuits, our next segment coming up is going to be our legal and legislative segment, and that's where we get to tell you what you need to know from the courts and the legislatures. As I'm sure you know, there's been a lot of activity the last few weeks. Just keep in mind, I'm not a lawyer, neither is Mike. We cannot give you legal advice, and all legal advice should come from a properly licensed California attorney. Our sponsor, John Dillon, is a lawyer. If you have any gun-related questions or need a lawyer, please get a hold of John. His website is dillonlawgp.com, and his phone number is 760-642-7150.
Okay, so here's what you need to know in the legal realm that happened this past week. First off, we were just talking about how more lawsuits need to get filed. But there's actually a hurdle that I don't think everybody's totally aware of. So FPC versus San Diego, it's in the Ninth Circuit right now. It's the California fee shifting law. October 10, 2024, which was last week, the Ninth Circuit dismissed FPC's appeal, our appeal, in the case, saying that we don't have a viable case because the defendants have not attempted to enforce the law and say they don't intend to. Now, here's what's going on. So what's the question here? Well, they passed a law after, it was a couple years ago. They passed a law saying that, hey, if you sue the state on a Second Amendment issue and you lose, then you owe the state all the legal expenses. So they're going to rack up all these hours and pay law firms and whatever. If you lose, then boom, you owe them the $250,000 they spent, or the $500,000 they spent, or the $1 million they spent. This is obviously an attempt to try to bankrupt people that are filing lawsuits based on the Second Amendment. So we're fighting this. The first fight was the Miller case. Actually, that was the Miller case, was the assault weapons ban. But then they said, hey, wait a minute. Before we can go further on this, we need to know, what's going to happen with, whether or not it's constitutional to hit us with legal fees if we're trying to, sue for our legal rights back. And that turned into the Miller 2 case, so they called it, which basically said, hey, are we able to proceed without you guys bankrupting us? So they're fighting it, and basically what the court is saying is, well, they're not actually technically asking for the fees, so you guys don't really have a case. So we're kind of in this limbo. It's tough to file a lawsuit if you don't know if we lose. By the way, it's not just you don't have to win the whole thing or lose the whole thing. Even if there's a piece of it and you lose, then they could hit you up with the fees. So the state's basically saying, well, they're not really asking for their fees and hem-ha and, skibbity-skibbity. So it's leaving us in this state of limbo. And it's before we can file a bunch more lawsuits, we got to figure out, hey, is this, where do we stand on this thing? Because this could easily bankrupt any organization.
So they're basically stating you don't have someone who's been fiscally harmed. You don't have damages. Is that the kind of what they're saying?
Yeah. And the reason they're saying that, it's exactly what they're saying.
Because they've not attempted.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to flip this through in my head. I'm curious. I mean, can you put a dollar? Because here's the thing. I can totally imagine there's going to be organizations that have chosen not to pursue justice.
Yeah.
Because of this.
That's already happening.
Right.
There are lawsuits that we want to file. And it's like, we can't do that until we know, can San Diego County gun owners be a plaintiff on a lawsuit if they know they're going to come after us for $1 million? We can't afford $1 million hit. Right. So, $500,000 hit, we can't afford that. So yeah, it's already making it to where you're not going to see as many lawsuits in the state of California. There may be some. I know there's a couple organizations that are going to move forward on a couple of different lawsuits, and that'll be announced later. But there should be a lot more happening, but for this fee shifting thing, it has to get figured out once and for all. Isn't that crazy?
What judges were on that panel?
I don't know, but they didn't like us. I know that. Barba versus Bonta. That's the California Superior Court. This is the gun owner data sharing case where they passed this law and said, hey, we want to take all this gun owner data and we want to give it to the University of California in Davis, and we want them to figure out how they can ban more guns. Well, surprisingly, we were a little uncomfortable with that. So Barba she's a San Diego County gun owners member. And of course, we're plaintiffs in that case. There was a hearing on the motions for summary judgment, and it's scheduled for April 2025. That was just announced. A lot of people want to know, hey, our information is being, compromised legally. What's going on with that? Well, we wanted everybody to know they finally have scheduled a hearing, and it's happening in April 2025, which everybody probably thinks, man, that's so far away. Well, in legal terms, it's a blink of an eye. It'll be here before we know it. So I wanted to give you that update. Gray versus Jennings. Delaware has an assault weapon ban that's actually very similar to ours. It has a list, it has features, plus it has a mag ban. It's all very California sounding. The case there was actually a lot of discussion. They just heard the case. There was a lot of discussion on public safety versus 2A, which is the old way of thinking. Bruin has changed that. So there are still attorneys, anti-gun attorneys defending municipalities and states saying, hey, public safety, think of the children, think of the children. And the reality is their world has completely changed. So they asked the Supreme Court to take a look at this, and it could be one of the cases that's heard. The Supreme Court is actually Delaware didn't respond. So FPC said, hey, we need you to take a look at this, review it, please. Grant cert is the term. We want the Supreme Court to take a look at this. And Delaware basically said, we don't care. We're not gonna participate. We don't want a response. We're not going to respond to FPC's request for the Supreme Court to take a look. Well, the Supreme Court is actually forcing Delaware to file a response by the end of the month.
Really?
Which is, I think it's a very positive move. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to take this case, but what it does mean is that they're very curious to know more about it. I think they're going to finally make a decision on assault weapons is really what I'm trying to say. So I don't know necessarily if they're going to take that case. Now, speaking of that, in St. Louis, Illinois, actually East St. Louis, Illinois, not St. Louis, Missouri, Firearms Policy Coalition had a big victory. Today, the Firearms Policy Coalition announced that Federal District Court Judge Stephen McGlynn has ruled in the FPC law case Harrell versus Rowell that the Protect Illinois Communities Act, the PICA Act, which was an assault weapons ban. It was a ban on semi-automatic firearms and their magazines. He ruled that it is unconstitutional, which is a huge ruling. In fact, he had a 168-page decision where he nailed the anti-gunners. I mean, it was not opaque in any way. It was crystal clear that Judge McGlynn was not happy with a gun ban and made sure that he made it very, very clear in his decision that it was unconstitutional. After considering all of the evidence and arguments, the court must take action as justice demands. That's a quote. The court said in its decision, quote, PICA, that's the name of the assault weapons ban, the Protect Illinois Communities Act, is an unconstitutional affront to the Second Amendment and must be enjoined. The government may not deprive law-abiding citizens of their guaranteed right to self-defense as a means of offense. End quote. However, the court also stayed the injunction for 30 days to allow the state time to appeal and seek a stay from the Court of Appeals for the Seventh Circuit. They seem to be doing that because, you remember Freedom Week?
Right.
Where he said, hey, mags are legal, and he didn't. He immediately, he said it's immediate, and then there was this huge rush, and then they said, no, it's not illegal, or they're not legal again. I think that they tend to be doing this on purpose. They don't want a big rush and confusion and push and whatever. They're trying to get to the end of the road without causing any more confusion. So I'll read one more quote on this because I really, really liked it. We are gratified that the court properly found that these bans violate the constitutionally protected rights of Illinois residents and visitors. As we clearly showed at trial, PICA fails even under the Seventh Circuit's misguided test that conflicts with the binding Supreme Court precedent. That's FPC President Brandon Combs, who's a fantastic guy. So, do we now have another positive decision in an assault weapons case?
Absolutely.
How cool is that?
Not that there's any big news on it, but I just like to throw out there I know you have lots of cases in the works and everything, but we have the Richards case is going to have a session right later this week.
Yes.
Correct?
Yep. And the Richards case is
the 10-day.
Yep. Exactly right. If you have a gun, why are you going through a 10-day cool down period?
Right.
Doesn't make any sense at all.
Just excited for that.
As am I. And that is all you need to know this week when it comes to our legal segment.
All right. So there it is. And that's your Second Amendment legal update for the week.
All right, cool. All right, we got a guest. Matt Young, how are you doing, man?
Good, Mike. Good to see you again.
Good. So, again, before we start with our interview, put the dough back and donate. Orange County Gun Owners. Go to ocgunowners.com. Donate as much as you can, $10, $100, whatever you can. This is sponsored by Cargo, Cases and Rugged Gear Outfitters in El Cajon. We got to meet Michael, the owner of Cargo, last week. Now go reward him for supporting our show and being such a great Second Amendment guy by buying some cool stuff. You can check him out online by going to cargostores.com. Or you can go to 423 Broadway, El Cajon, and either way, website, in person, if you mention GOR, Gun Owners Radio, you'll get 10% off. So go check them out. They sell all kinds of really cool stuff. I'm already a customer. Alicia's already a customer.
That's it.
We've already started to drain our wallets because he sells such good stuff. So Matt from County Arms, how you doing, man?
Good, great.
Yeah, it's been a long time since unfortunately, sadly, I think the last time you and I saw each other was at the closing celebration, I say, of Gunfighter Tactical.
I was trying to remember if it was then or it was we ran into each other at up at Rainbow Oaks at one point. I was
yeah.
eating there. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
So it was either or,
Were you
one
having
of the
spaghetti?
two. But sadly, yes, the gunfighter thing. Yeah.
I wasn't having spaghetti, but you know what they sell at Rainbow Oaks at that diner? They sell Newski's bacon. It's like the
What?
only place in town where they sell Newski's bacon. So that's right. We did run into it. That was a happier
Occasion. Yeah.
occasion. Than,
Yeah.
So talk about what's your connection with Gunfire Tactical. It was I got to tell you, one of my favorite shops. I love those guys.
How did that even start? So they were in Miramar. You know, in California, it's tough to find a really good gun store, obviously.
Yeah.
And as I just kept one-upping across, I worked at Qualcomm, and they're nearby, Gunfighter, and I wandered in there. And once I saw their signs, and they're like, they just put it on their chest as far as how they went about things.
Yeah, they weren't shy.
They weren't shy, no.
By
they
giving
really,
their opinions.
Their opinions, yeah. Law enforcement and regular citizens should all have the same rights and so forth. And the more I got to know them, the more I loved them. And then they kind of took me in, and over the years, we kind of became family. And that's how I would work,
cool.
do stuff there at the shop, do as many favors as I could for them, go to the gun prom, go to all the activities. So really, really got involved with them. We still all are very much connected and hang out together all the time.
Those guys are the best. And now you own and operate County Arms, which actually it's a couple different pieces. There's a couple different businesses that you run. Talk about those. What are the three first?
So County Industries, which is the parent company, the County Laser, which is cleaning lasers and everything non-firearms related, and County Arms, which is all the firearms stuff. And how we got here, is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. We started out, I moved to Temecula, and I have a longtime friend and now business partner, Mike Milano, who's in Temecula right now on our video feed there. And he wanted to start this. We were always programmers, coders, and we wanted to get more involved in actually making things, doing things with our hands, and investing in companies. So we started a cleaning laser company, which was very niche.
Cleaning laser company?
Yeah.
Does that mean you used a laser to clean things, or you cleaned people's lasers?
We get that all the time. So yeah.
Like, what if I had like dolphins with lasers attached to them? Would you clean those lasers for me, or I guess there were sharks with lasers on their heads?
Yeah, you just totally took me on a right angle there, because there are dolphins with lasers. The seals have them.
Oh, that's awesome.
You didn't know that, right?
No.
Oh yeah, we'll get back to that.
Yeah, Rich, let's get some dolphins with lasers on their head for our guest next week.
They're in Point Loma and they're on the East Coast. So I was challenged on that years ago. Sorry to sidetrack here, but you really got me. I almost went back into the military to get involved in that program.
It sounds cool.
Yeah. Anyway, and then Iraq happened. So the second time. Okay, back to
lasers.
Lasers.
Your lasers clean things, or
So their biggest favorite food, these lasers, is rust. So if you have anything like automotive, anything that's rusting, that's one of their main purposes, to take that away and basically leave the metal behind, or the object behind, and get rid of the contaminant, so to speak.
Interesting.
It's a frequency that hits it, and then it doesn't damage what's underneath. So instead of sandblasting or doing other types of media, as far as removal, the laser takes care of all that without as much damage and without as much particulates going into the air.
Interesting. So how did that turn into guns? So were
Yeah.
you using that on people's guns, or how did that turn into guns?
So we started out with a mobile laser system, where we had an ambulance van. Mike actually went out and got a real ambulance van with lights and sirens and everything. Pretty cool. And then it was easier to do it mobile, but that's quite expensive to move around. So we ended up getting a shop, and then Gunfighter, sadly, closed down at about that time. Yeah. And they said, "Hey, Matt, would you like to acquire all of our shop, and continue on?" And they knew how much I have an addiction for that stuff. So I did. We moved it up to Temecula. We put it in our shop. And the reason why it was so attractive to us at the time was the paint booth that Gunfighter uses. Yeah. We could use it as dual purpose. So we were able to use that as our laser cleaning booth.
Oh, wow.
And then that has all of the right filters and things going up into the ceiling and doing all the right things by all the rules,
How interesting. And you work with Mike, too. Is Mike on the line? Can he hear us? Mike, you can hear us, bud? No. Okay.
He can.
Let's see.
Hey, Mike, can you hear us okay?
Can you
buddy?
guys hear me? I can hear you. Yeah.
Good. Okay, so welcome to the show.
Thanks.
There's kind of an echo, though. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about what? So you're both engineers, both you guys.
Yeah.
There's some kind of special relationship between engineers and guns. What is it? Like every engineer out there,
The mechanics.
is a gun nut. You think that's what it is?
The mechanics and where you can take it. My dad was an electrical, chemical, mechanical engineer. Like and he's the one who really got my family involved with guns. So we used to rebuild black powder rifles, shotguns, and then auction them off.
So it's just another machine that you guys can play with and work on. And
Yeah, and to me, like the further I got into firearms, the more I loved long range because that added that extra aspect of taking that mechanical aspect further. So instead of golf, which is a what do they say, a long walk ruined?
yeah, but a small ball. Yeah.
Yeah, this is much more fun to me as far as making sure that bullet can land way the heck over there. You know?
Engineering your way to a bullseye.
That's right.
That's awesome, man. That's very cool. And you do Cerakote and then engraving.
Yes.
And then like rust prevention or rust.
Yes.
Not prevention. Rust
Removal.
removal. Okay.
Restoration. So the whole idea with it was that we wanted to see how many cross pollinations we could get really. So if you use laser cleaning for firearms per se, you might want a more precise removal of something.
Yeah.
Really, they're just high end laser engravers, really like powerful or tunable. Laser engravers. So if like a fiber laser, which you use for metal, or a CO2 laser you use for organics, this is a fiber laser type technology, just taken to the nth degree.
So if I take a gun out of my case, and there's a dime sized rust mark on it, take it to you guys, and you guys can help.
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, and you guys laser it, and then you're right back. Do you have to? Do you have to like re-blue it or no? It doesn't.
Well, if you're after a blued gun, then yeah, you would probably have to re-blue it. Absolutely,
Gotcha.
or whatever kind of coating you have. So we're trying to do both. We're trying to laser clean, laser engrave, restore. It can work with wood. We're experimenting with varnish. Our countylaser.com site has like a lot of the fields that's in.
Gotcha.
But basically coatings
Yeah.
and cleanings. Right,
Gotcha.
so you've got both. So you can do sandblasting, or you could do, which is traditionally what we used for Cerakoting before. So
and decorate.
and
too.
decorate, yeah, and customize.
What kind of cool stuff have you done to customize?
We just did, Batman.
I've
Eric
heard of
Rumbin.
him.
Yeah.
Oh wait, who?
Eric Rumbin. That's
No.
is one of my best friends in the gunfighter family.
Yeah. His name. He goes by Batman.
Batman, yeah, because he has all the cool gear.
That's terribly arrogant.
Yeah, it is. On your show, Fredo.
I like him already.
Yeah, he's great. Fredo made him a
I
custom.
love Fredo to death. That guy's the best guy in the world.
So that was the last mention of him. But basically, Eric came and he's like, hey, it's Marine Corps birthday's coming up today. And I didn't put two and two together as far as like I wanted to bring this on the show. So we went ahead and took a Prodigy, which is a 2011 basically, made by Springfield. And we we engraved Eagle Lobanacre on the grips. And then we put a beautiful, pattern on the top. So something like that,
Cool. Oh yeah, the Marine Corps globe with the anchor and the eagle.
And inside is a handgun that I'm not gonna show.
Yeah.
So or knives. I brought a Cerakote sample in here to show like here's a Harbor Freight knife and here's a Cerakoted one.
I got to tell you, that stuff is really cool. Lee, back when they were open, helped me. I went in. So a buddy of mine retired from the Army. He and I went to high school together, graduated. And about 2 years after high school, I'm, screwing around and kind of going to college. And he says, I'm going to enlist and go in the Army. I said, that's the dumbest idea I've ever heard. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing?
Yes.
Like, move out to California. Let's,
Yes.
So, no, I'm going to the Army. I'm like, you're going to regret it. Well, he had an awesome career. And he did his 20 years and worked his way from E1 up to, he retired as an O4. Got a couple of degrees and combat vet, beautiful family, the whole thing. I mean, just had a fantastic life for those 20 years. So I went into Lee and I said, hey, he was not a gun owner. He kind of, it's interesting. I don't know if you've experienced this, but a lot of cops and military folks, it's a tool. You know what I mean? There's a lot of them that aren't. You'd think that they're all gun nuts.
Absolutely.
Nope.
But they're not.
No, they're not.
So he was one of those guys, not a gun nut. But I was like, I'm going to get him a Glock 19. And we engraved the Army insignia on it. We engraved the dates that he enlisted and the dates that he retired. We engraved, a private, what is it, a stripe or a chevron or whatever?
Yeah, private's just one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the leaf for a major.
Like an oak leaf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I forget what else we put on there. And then I think he gave it like a blue hue, and then we put a gold-colored barrel in it, to kind of make it even more Army looking.
Yeah.
And I told Lee, I said, hey, I want you to put in the U.S. Army. And he goes, that's like what they use on the cheesy commercials. He said, let's use the actual insignia with the cannon and stuff,
Yeah.
That thing turned out so beautiful. The things you can do with engraving and a little bit of, And the cool thing is he uses it. It doesn't make it into a toy.
Right.
It's still functional. He still uses it.
Yeah.
But it's amazing what you guys can do with the engraving and the laser engraving and everything. It's so amazing. It's so amazing, so precise.
Yeah, and we have all that, and CO2 lasers, which we always missed at Gunfighter. So now we have a huge one. It's at the shop.
What's
gigantic.
a CO2 laser? What's that?
It's basically a tube, and it's filled with this gas. And if you look at the tube and the gas in the back, it's almost like a Star Trek weapon. You'll see this huge, like red, pink laser going through it. It's really amazing. So I don't know if everybody can see, but on behind Mike, there's a blue, gigantic coffin-like object, and that is a CO2 laser. So it will do everything really but metal. So projects like at Gunfighter that we wanted to burn into the back of like a stock, like a wood stock.
Yeah.
We always had to kind of like send that out or find somebody to do it or do it in a different way.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I had myself, that I would do stuff on the side for Gunfighter. And then joining that to the fiber laser, which is all the magic that you just talked about, which did your friend's gun.
Yeah.
And then we're doing optic cuts and serrations and working on that process. So putting red dots and that kind of thing on top.
Now, what did you do to this knife over here that Alicia is?
So that is a cheap Harbor Freight knife that was probably $6 or $7, and we took it and Cerakote black multicam to the top, which is, I probably should have done a brighter like multicam arid, but it's just to show that you can take something that's just kind of silly. And
there it is. This is what it used to look like.
Yeah. So we're thinking of just getting like 20 of those and coloring them up.
Nice.
And where I got that from was at Gunfighter. We used to paint up.
This is such a Rambo.
It is. It's ridiculous. And they actually had one, and that's what gave me the idea of doing it, because people would come into Gunfighter all the time, I guess, and try and buy the multicam or original one of these.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to sell it because it was a good example. So we're thinking of hanging it up and showing all the patterns.
Does it have the hollow stock?
It does.
Put
and it has the silly little survival thing with 5 matches and some fish line.
Do you remember that back in the 80s?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. They had that thing on. It was like every commercial was that knife. And I don't know, I was like 8 or 10. Oh, I was obsessed. I had to have that knife. I bought like 5 of them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was just absolutely had to have that knife. Years later, decades later.
Good thing it's not an emergency right now. I can't get the damn stuff out.
So on that, I'm gonna make an absolute promise, because I meant to do it for this one, especially since the 2011. This went to his dad, the one that we just did.
Oh, cool.
So it was for the Marine Corps birthday, because his dad was a U-2 pilot.
Oh, wow.
A Marine U-2 pilot, and he's super tall.
Wait,
Anyway,
a U-2 pilot?
yeah, he was a U-2 pilot
For the Marine Corps?
Yes.
I don't think I knew that they had. Did they?
Neither did I.
Yeah, that's interesting. All right.
Very interesting. And he did a lifetime career there, and now he lives in Texas. So Eric and Juliana are now there visiting their dad and giving him this 2011 for the Marine Corps birthday, which today is 249 years.
Yeah.
And
Happy birthday, Marine Corps.
Happy hoorah. And then what I wanted to get you guys was the K-bar. So I have a K-bar I was going to work up, and they're actually a lot harder to take apart and Cerakote than I thought. So I'm going to make a promise by next year, before the Marine Corps birthday the next year, I'm going to put Gun Owners Radio on it engraved,
cool.
and give it to you guys.
Well,
and
that'd be cool.
Some nice stuff on that K-bar.
That's awesome. Yeah, next year will be 250.
250. That's what I was thinking. It might be 250. 250.
Yeah. So did you get are you setting a fire or fishing? No.
By the aid of the Big Pen, I absolutely cut it out.
Yeah,
in Girl Scouts, we made one out of a film canister.
Yeah.
Girls didn't get knives.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, that's not right.
Yeah, I remember I found that survival knife at a gun show in Arizona decades later. I was like, oh my God, this is it. Because mine was long lost and fell apart or whatever. But oh man, that thing was so important.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was such an important thing in my life. That's cool. So, Mike, can you still hear us?
Yep, I can hear you. I think
Okay,
I've
cool.
there's still an
Good.
echo, is there?
No echo. That's perfect. So, what's it like, man? Tell us about the new business. Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, it's been a journey. I'm getting an echo, so it's a little bit hard to talk.
Oh, you sound perfect on our side. Just tell us your favorite thing about working for County Arms and the work that you guys do.
You know, at first when it was laser cleaning, it was a lot more boring. But Cerakote has been that's been awesome. Lee has been coming up, helping us, kind of showing us the ropes, and that's been a pretty incredible creative outlet. Just everything that goes into it. And there's lots of learning on my end. You know, Matt has more experience with this, but yeah, our you know, we both were interested in doing this, so we just did it, and it was a bunch of little steps. You know, it's not just one big step to become an FFL. It's been a journey of just like every little legal, you know, certificate that we have to get, you know, between the city to you know, state to federal. It's been a lot, but we got there.
Yeah, it's really tough. I got to tell you, I've said that a number of times, that it's extremely difficult to be a business owner in California. And if that business has anything to do with guns, it's 10 times as bad.
Yeah.
It's really difficult.
Yeah, I think being a laser company kind of helped us in a sense, as far as, you know, our occupancy and everything else, and not coming in straight as just a firearms manufacturer. It helped us kind of get everything started, and then it was a little bit easier to add the FFL stuff than it would have been. Whereas, I mean, we may not have gotten it if we're going straight
the other way around. So you guys have your FFL. Talk about that. You don't sell. Do you carry guns and sell them?
We can.
You can, but do you typically, or?
No, we can, but we're focused on customization right now. So we don't have a showroom. But yeah, Matt can speak to that. You know, we're mainly focused on you know, one-off projects or you know, not just full-on retail sales.
Nice. You get the FFL so because you got to hold on to the gun for a while.
Yeah, so the FFL 07, which is what we are, that's how we started, was as a manufacturer, and that's through the advice of like Ryan Peterson, and what we told them what we want to do. They came back with, you should be this. So that one is kind of top level, gives us more rights, kind of, as far as I see it. And then in California, it's kind of odd because normally you'd have like an FFL 01 or like an 03.
Right.
And so with California, you get on these lists, and one of them is, well, what gunfighter became later, which was a kerfluffle. That's a word.
Is that the legal term?
The technical term.
It's like a CFL.
You can be an FFL kerfuffle.
A kerfluffle. It is a kerfluffle. That's right. It was somewhere between being a dealer and a manufacturer, but they were restricted, but they didn't have to deal with a retail. So that was kind of a mid-grade one. So we went ahead and got the CDL. There's all kinds of reasons. We were talking about magazines earlier, like that enabled us to get the large capacity magazine permit so that we could customize magazines. That's a whole odd world right there.
Standard capacity.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry that I used those words. But that, like, so we have rights to sell outside of the state. It's actually much easier to sell outside of the state than it is in the state. So, and because we're so in love with customization, making art, that kind of thing, that's really what we're after, kind of continuing on the gunfighter way.
Well, if let's actually,
go ahead.
If I'm a gun owner, and I happen to be one, and you kind of have the typical, you got a tactical shotgun, you might have a sporting clay shotgun, you're going to have some form of AR, you're going to have some kind of pistol, probably, you know, a Glock or maybe something else, right? But that's kind of your typical, you know, if you're a gun owner in San Diego, that's pretty much your lineup right there.
Yeah.
What are some real common things that people have done?
Well, porting the barrel, porting the slide. You usually get serrations. Most people are after, when we're just talking about Glocks, the standard Glock, they really want a Gen 5, right? Which is available to everybody outside of the state.
For now.
Yes, right. And so what they'll do is they'll take a Gen 3 and they'll turn it into a Gen 5. They'll say,
interesting.
cut off the fingers, grooves, put serrations on the front, give me an optic cut. All these things are included outside the state, right?
Yeah.
And that is some of the more common things. For shotguns, it's all over the board. Like take it apart, make this old 870 into this, renew it, make it brown, add some different features to it. Let's see, for ARs, typically anything to do with an AR pistol, a single shot exemption type situation, the same stuff gunfighter would do. Those are really common there. They would customize the paint job. They'll customize the engraving. We have access to all the different items that you might want to upgrade your weapon with. So that's good in our customization.
Okay, and then if they bring it to you, or how do they call you? What's the process?
Okay,
you prefer?
Several ways. So yeah, that is the preferred way, is if they bring it to us, right? So they
make
have
an appointment first.
Yeah, that'd be even better,
Okay.
or even let us know what you want. But then you bring it in, and then this is one way to go about it. And then tell us what you want, or talk to us about it. What do you want? We'll help you with that. And then we customize that. Then the other way is like, you don't have a Glock yet. You're going to get a Glock, but you want all these customizations done. Legally in California only, we can't customize the weapon until after the DROS period.
Yeah.
So what's funny and interesting about the whole thing is to show demo models, right? Like Gunfighter used to do in the case. You'd see this beautiful multicam arid customized weapon, and you say, I want that. And you go, well, I can't sell you that one, but I can sell you one just like it after the DROS period.
Right. You got it. You buy it plain, stock.
Yeah.
And then you go through the 10-day.
Yeah.
And then you say, all right, now I want the customization.
Yeah. And then at that point, you can have that whole package for a certain price that's already predetermined. We can also do things like, if you come in, same thing, and say, I want that gun at this price. And then we get that, and then we customize it for you. So you can either own it before or get it from us,
right.
and we'll just go through the normal process. Outside of the state, we can customize the heck out of it and sell it.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of a funny world there.
Okay. All right. Well, cool, man. Well, what is the best way to get a hold of you? Is the website.
That's right.
So what is the website?
Presently, we have countylaser.com and we have countyarms.com. And then we're over the grams and the what's the other Mike's good TikTok.
So social media has been tough because we're kind of getting suspended on anything we post. If we post pictures of guns, or I've tried to set an ad, I tried to create an ad, and they think you're trying to sell the gun instead of advertising Cerakote. So we kind of get suppressed. So on Instagram and TikTok, whatever, I think we're only featured to anybody who's already subscribed. But on Instagram, you can see our work it's county.arms on Instagram.
Perfect. Well, thank you, gentlemen. This is a very interesting interview, and you're going to stick around. We're going to talk about all kinds of other stuff, but give your website one more time.
Countyarms.com and countylaser.com.
Actually, if it's okay, we actually have a few questions in the chat. Can we throw them out there?
Oh yeah,
sure.
Love it.
All right,
Sure.
quick. First, just a thank a super chat from Mike for his donation.
Mike's the best. Thank you, Mike.
All right, so a couple questions we have. All right, so first of all, we have somebody asking if you can laser. Oh, there's so much. The chat's been so active. Give me a moment to catch up to where it was.
Cool.
People are excited and talking. Let's see. Can you polish using laser a stainless steel gun?
Ooh. Well, I hate to say this, but possibly. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, we've actually been hired to clean stainless, and the problem is we have to use such low settings just to keep the basically. I don't think so, because it'll mark before it'll do anything else. So no, I would say no.
Gotcha. Let's see.
What else we got?
Someone's inquiring as to the cost of the lasering machines, the expense involved, and what does that look like?
Yeah, Matt, your competition wants to know how much they got to spend to put you out of business.
Really, it's just like laser time and labor. So we're still arguing over or discussing pricing, but $90 to $100 an hour.
Oh wait, are they asking how much to do it, or how much did they spend buying the machines to do it?
Oh, yeah.
The question appears to me is to purchase the equipment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So do you mean the cleaning? Can I ask them back? Do you mean the cleaning lasers or the engraving?
What are the costs of the cleaning lasers?
They're like anywhere from 25 to 50. I mean,
And how much is the engraving?
the engraving lasers are like 5 to 25 grand.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
All right, cool. What else we got? Any other questions?
And that's a deal, by the way. The 25 is still the one at gun. Well, I won't.
So it's not something you buy and put it in your garage casually. This is a career decision if you're going to
Not a
buy one of
hobby.
these things.
You're not
Yeah.
saving any money by lasering your own.
At least in my tax bracket.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean there are cheap ones you could get away with, but you're talking still about 1,000 to 2,000 for a 20 watt, which is a lower grade. But that's yeah.
Lasers. All right.
That-
What else?
That's actually it for questions. The rest was just the conversation. People are just conversing. And
Well, perfect. Well,
Discussion.
Thank you so much. Give your website one more time.
CountyLaser.com and CountyArms.com.
Great. Thank you guys both. All right. Again, put the dough back and donate. Orange County Gun Owners, go to ocgunowners.com and donate a couple of bucks. This is how we get things done. Orange County Gun Owners just had a great election season. So please support their efforts by making a donation. One-time donation or become a member. It's totally up to you. Now we're going to do Curtain Call with Alicia, sponsored by Straight Shooter, straightshooter.ac. Their phone number is 619-922-3937. If you own your AC and own your heater in your house, you need to call these guys and have them come out and do a tune-up. If you need a whole new system, even better. The change in seasons triggers a lot of people's allergies, so Straight Shooter can help you with your indoor air quality. Give them a call and make sure you're breathing clean air. Again, straightshooter.ac, 619-922-3937. All right, Alicia, what do we got?
all right. So our story today is just give you the title. It states, "Wife defends husband allegedly seen in video pointing gun at fellow driver."
Wow, a wife defends her husband allegedly seen. So allegedly, a wife defends husband allegedly seen in video pointing gun at fellow driver. Who's
Correct.
Who's pointing the gun? Well, I guess
So-
that's what you're going to tell us. Go
Yeah.
for it.
So really, let's break it down. And really, just true to this is a recent story. It comes out of Virginia, and basically we have 3 vehicles happen on the road. This is a bit of a road rage. 3 vehicles, and according to the article, it just sounds like they might have been kind of leapfrogging or just kind of one cutting off the other.
Yeah.
There were 3 involved. However, there's really only 2 that are really discussed, but there's a mention of a third. So we have, let's just say car 1, car 2, and car 3 to keep it simple.
Gotcha.
So we have car 1 has a boyfriend and a girlfriend in it. Car 2 also has a boyfriend and a girlfriend in it. Car 1 has a boyfriend with a firearm. Car 2 has a girlfriend with a phone, a cell phone to record. So as part of this road rage, these cars kind of one trying to work around the other. One just gets really angry and annoyed with the other and decides to video the license plate of the other. So breaks out the phone, has the phone up, and is recording, trying to, they in the article, they stated they were trying to get the license plate of the other car in case there was an issue. They wanted to have the documentation of who this vehicle was.
Nothing illegal about that.
Right. So as part of that, this other vehicle felt that they were wronged or in harm in some way or fashion, and decided to I'm sorry, let me back up. Car that was videotaping the plate of the other gets that plate on video and then takes off, goes fast, tries to get away. This other vehicle that had been recorded wasn't happy about something, felt like there was a risk. They sped up, got caught up to the other vehicle, and pulled out a firearm.
Great.
So in the article, it states that they did catch up to get back up to this other vehicle. The woman that had been recording the plate still had her phone out. She recorded this other vehicle with the boyfriend who has his firearm out and presented and points it at them.
Not good.
Not good.
So what happened? What are the results here?
So on this article, we actually don't have a full outcome just yet. It sounds like it's a pretty recent thing. I'm curious to see what's going to happen with this one. But I thought that this was a really good discussion that should be had. So this is Virginia. Self-defense laws in Virginia, not too different than California.
Yeah.
Right? We have a lot of similarities and parallels. I mean, a couple things. Let's talk about what went well. Okay. Well, the fact that we have a firearm owner who happened to have been carrying their firearm that day, I think is a positive. All right. Do I agree with what they did with it? Absolutely not. So as far as this article goes, there is no clear. There's a mention of a video. We don't get to see the video. I was really hoping, searching, trying to find the video. There's no video that's been released yet. So kudos to them for carrying the firearm. However, I don't feel that they were a wise firearm carrier. So I would say that's a definite negative, right? Not being a good, sober, of mind. So the idea and the concept, or what I'd like to discuss, and I'd love to let this be an open discussion with everybody, is the idea of this when, in a circumstance like this, they stated that the vehicle that they drew upon, they felt was putting their life at risk by the way they were driving. So their statement was that our lives were at risk because of the way that they were driving.
Tough case to make.
But here's the thing. That car left.
Right.
Yeah.
You chose to pursue and to catch back up with it.
That's right.
You reintroduced yourself into it.
Yeah.
So the whole idea of, yes, can a vehicle be a weapon?
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right? But you remove yourself if you can, or the threat removes itself, and you've got a separation there. So there's this delineation, right?
Yeah. If you're afraid of somebody, you're not pursuing them.
You should not be.
If you're afraid they're going to take your life, then don't go running after them.
Correct. Correct. And so there was, I think far too many of people that when, because these discussions happen in a CCW course, right? We talk about scenarios. We talk about real life self-defense. We talk about when we should, when we shouldn't, when we can, and when we can't, right? And I think far too many people, which is why I think this is an important or a good thing to discuss, is I think far too many people think, well, it's my right to feel safe. Yeah. Absolutely. I will never tell you you can't, right? But you got to think, first of all, you have to be wise in your self-defense.
Very.
Right? If you have an opportunity to de-escalate, escape, and avoid, take it, right? And if you can't, and your threat is to the level of death, right, or great bodily harm, that's what that firearm is for, right? And so I think this is an opportunity to really kind of have that discussion, to kind of let that be in the forefront of your mind of what's the standard, right? When can we pull it? When can we not? When should we use it? When shouldn't we? Right?
And I think one thing that concerns me is I talk to folks a lot, and they kind of want to know, like, all right, well, what steps have to have been taken by the other person so that that ensure I can pull my firearm. You can't look at it that way. You gotta, do you feel your life was in danger? And do you reasonably feel, is it actually inside your soul, oh my God, I'm going to die? Rather than look at it as like this opportunity, like, okay, they did this, not yet. They did that, not yet. Okay, did this, now I can pull my gun. Mm-hmm. No. You're supposed to be defending your life, not looking for an opportunity.
Right. Yeah. If your thought is, what about now? Can I now? Wrong mindset. It really, I would really like to really put out there. It really needs to be, man, do I absolutely have to? Like, spin that around.
So I'm just wondering, was he charged with brandishing his firearm?
There's no mention of me.
Okay.
I take that back. Yes, there is a mention of charges. Let me keep talking for a second.
Yeah.
Let me pull that article back up.
So I was lucky enough to attend Guardian training in Arizona with Josh. I don't know if you've ever seen that. A lot of the gunfighter guys wear the Guardian hat.
Yeah. Yes.
So they have that. I think they went to Gun Prom with it too. It's a situational interactive video system where you basically, oh man, is it good? So they present you with these tons of years in law enforcement, tons of years to teach in CCW. But what's great is he'll put this like pulse meter on you before you have to engage with the video. And then when it's over, they take that off, they read you what your BPM is, and then they start immediately interviewing you of what just occurred.
Wow.
And then they'll use those words against you as if you were in court. And so it's great training and you're in front of all your peers while you do it. So
what's the point of the BPM? Is it like, hey, you say you were afraid, but your heartbeat didn't even...
Oh, they can use that against you too. All of it can be used against you. But the whole point is to see, like, are you handling stress well, right? Are you calm under pressure as this occurs? And it just kind of gives you feedback. You can do with it as you may. Right. But Josh has actually been in, defense shooting court cases. And so he kind of relays that into that same information, how it can be used against you as well.
Interesting.
All right, so here's our outcome. We don't have the video, which is that's the pending part. I'm still going to be searching for them and see if I can find that. What we do have, it states, however, is that Virginia State Police say the man in the video is 58-year-old Eugene Trujillo. He was arrested and charged with brandishing a firearm, reckless driving, although he wasn't the one driving, according to the article, assault and reckless driving of a vehicle in use of a firearm.
Interesting.
So
a lot went wrong and only a few things
Right.
went right. Definitely, there are much better examples of a defensive gun use out there.
Right.
Let this be a learning experience for
Absolutely.
the 22,000 or so
CCW
holders in San Diego.
don't drink, don't drive.
Definitely don't drink or
Be
drive.
appropriate with your pull and drive firearm.
And don't road rage. I got to tell you, that's one of the things I like most about the fact that I drive a 24-year-old Jeep Wrangler. Hard to get mad in it. You know what I mean? Like you can barely go the speed limit, so it's not like you just kind of like you have to resign to relax it. You have to just go, hey man, I'll get there when I get there. And it's not going to be comfortable. It's not going to be a comfortable ride. So just turn on some music and just relax. Road rage though, it's a real thing. But oh man,
It is.
Have you ever been involved in a DGU, a defensive gun use of any kind?
Not in civilian life. So,
Thankfully.
yeah, just lots of training. And I would be one of those that would not even brandish or show. If I can get away, I can get away.
Yeah.
That's it. There's very few things that I would defend. I have to pay for it in one way or another. Right.
go.
So.
All right, well, that's your current call. Anything else? Any other messages or lessons or anything you want people to know?
If you are rolling around out there
Yeah.
with this mindset of, well, it's my right and my right to carry and it's my right to pull it if I need it, without giving any thought to the reality of the legal end of I'm not saying you can't defend yourself, but we got to understand the concept of proportionality. And you know what? Meet with an instructor. If you don't get that, if you're rolling around with the idea of I get to do what I want, work with somebody because I don't want you in legal trouble.
Yeah, because that's the point. It's defense, not revenge.
Right. You can't be
So make sure you are defending yourself and not avenging. Okay. All right. Deployment. Here's where we need you. Every week, we want to make sure that you as an activist know what you can do to help, what you can actually do to help. How come you have 2 cell phones, man?
I have more than that.
You have more than 2 cell phones?
There's many a reason. One has a better camera. This is provided by County Laser, and this is my personal. Then Qualcomm, I have a small array.
I love engineers.
Yes.
You guys are always walking around with
Propeller head.
trinkets and machines or whatever.
Yeah.
Purse pockets to hold them all.
They call me garage sale. Because
Is your call sign?
leaving everywhere. Yeah, it's one of my call signs. I have many nickname. Yeah.
That's awesome. It's like, what's his name? What was that kid's name in Goonies that had all the inventions?
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about?
I know. I can picture him.
What
I
was
just.
his name?
Oh,
Was
give
he
me a minute.
also in Indiana Jones?
Yeah,
Yes.
same character,
Yeah,
or same guy, but different character.
Oh, man. What
Give me
was
a
his
second.
name? Oh, yes. We have that
It wasn't
tech. Mine died.
It wasn't Microchip. That was
No.
That
Punisher.
sounds, that sounds correct. But it's not.
And he wasn't Short Round. That was
Oh.
Indiana Jones.
Yeah, okay. Man,
Anyway.
I'm so excited. She'll
All right.
get it by the...
Yeah. All right. So deployment. This is where we need you this week to be an
Short
activist.
round in Indiana Jones.
Right.
Sorry, just a second. I'm still reading. Give me a second. I'm sorry. Keep going.
All right, so this is brought to you by Red, White, and Badass Brew Coffee. If you're a coffee drinker, go to rwbbcoffee.com, rwbbcoffee.com. Use GOR, you're going to get 15% off and buy some really cool coffee. Especially, I recommend their whiskey business. They're here local. They're supporters of Gun Owners Radio. And if you, again, go to rwbbcoffee.com and put in GOR, you'll get 15% off, and you'll be drinking some of the best coffee in the world for 15% off while
It's my
helping.
favorite. My family's favorite.
They're great. While helping to support Gun Owners Radio. You got it? What's his
I
name?
got it. I'm going to butcher the actor's real name, but his name is Ki Hwai Kwan.
All right.
And his character's name is Data.
Data.
Nice.
Data. Data.
He grew up to be an engineer.
He did.
No question.
Hope so.
Yeah. Don't forget, put the dough back and donate. Go to orangecountygunowners.com or ocgunowners.com. Make a donation. Just a one-time donation, $10. Everybody's got $10. Everybody listening right now, whether you're listening live on Sunday or sometime throughout the week, you got $10. If you could, please just go to ocgunowners.com and give us $10 and help us continue the fight. That would be awesome. Okay, so here are the deployments. Intro to Communications class. Speaking of engineers, Sign up today. Spaces are filling up. Learn how to stay connected during emergencies. It's a $360 class. You sign up today at gunrunnersradio.com, and it's for November 23rd and December 7th. Lunch is included. This
Not
is
both. They stand alone. Pick one day or the other, or go to both.
yeah,
but you don't have
one
to
or
go
the
to both.
other. Yes, sir.
Is there a remote available for that?
No, gotta show
No.
up.
Okay.
Got to show up. Got to be there. It's in El Cajon. What it has to do with ham radio.
Yes.
You're going to learn everything, almost everything you need to know about ham radio. John Baldwin, our San Diego County Gunners board member, is going to teach it. The cool thing is, this is how long's the class? It's like a
I believe it was 3 hours.
6 hour. It's a 6-hour class
it's
for
right,
only
it was,
$360.
yeah.
6-hour class plus you get a Baofeng UV5R programmed radio, and it's pre-programmed with local repeaters. Now, if you don't know what that means, you definitely need to take this class. If you're going, what the hell is a local repeater? Now you got to fork out the $360 to find that out. But apparently it's important. I don't know anything about ham. I know nothing about ham.
So sad.
Yeah, I know. I'll bet you do though. Huh?
Oh, love it.
Yeah. See, we're so many engineers, man.
Mike's even way up better at it than I am. But in
He's a better
tactical
ham than
training,
you are?
it's a must.
Really?
Oh, absolutely.
Why?
So barely training with Lee. We communicate directly over headsets, the Comtac 6s, I believe. But then secondly, we'd always use our Baofengs or other radios to communicate with each other in the field. So we would set up like force on force out in Paula with the Christensen Combatives group or with Lee or whatever. And whether you're doing airsoft or UTMs, man markers, that communication's huge. And then mix that in with ATAC, the basic mapping and tracking application that you can use on Android on your phone computer on your chest.
Yeah.
You can have all that stuff work
Actually,
together.
I don't know what you're talking about. You're like so far over my head.
Sorry.
So people just don't go shoot guns anymore? It's like a whole... you have to communicate.
Well,
you have to have comms and SatLink. And...
Let's say, you've got to get your family from A to B in a certain situation.
So I'll tell you what. Actually, this is actually a really good question for you. Explain to people who are considering this class, what's the difference between a walkie-talkie and ham radio? Like if I got a couple of walkie-talkies, why do I care about ham?
So walkie-talkie is limited in range. So, I would give those to my kids when they were little and they'd be out and running around Ocotillo Wells, But if they pass that threshold, you're not going to reach them on a walkie-talkie. And there's multiple ways of using radios in long range or mid range. A ham can be, as again, you mentioned repeaters. So as long as you're channeled into those and your group or your community has a map or an Excel sheet of where all the different channels are going to, you can reach where you need to reach, and you can get to the people that you're going to get. I mean, there are systems that will go all the way around the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you can talk. So if you have a ham radio and you know what you're doing and you're licensed,
yeah,
you can talk to pretty much anybody else in the world on a ham radio.
Yes, with enough equipment and knowing where the towers are. Yes, in fact, like CERT, which you're familiar with.
Yeah, the emergency response folks.
A lot of them will have like once a week check-ins where they all test and teach how to use ham. So if you can join CERT, you can learn there as well. It's helpful to keep reconditioning and keep up with things.
Do you get like a cool ham radio name?
You do.
Like a handle? You do?
If you get licensed.
Why, what's yours?
I don't. I'm not actually licensed.
Oh, okay. All right.
And it's optional. So I mean, it is and it isn't. You'll learn that in the class. Wow. But my good friend Robert Brown, he runs ham and CERT at Carlsbad, and his is into pins because he owns a Pinsgauer. He used to go to all the shoots and have the Pinsgauer.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I thought you said deep pen.
So it's not you don't.
That's terrible.
He's
not that old.
He's going to change it when he gets a little older.
He'll love that. He's going to be watching this.
It's so, but you don't pick a ham name. Like it's not like your childhood pet and the street you grew up on.
It has to do with character. So you could probably get it in there.
I think it should be the standard.
Yeah.
Your childhood pet. What's your childhood pet and the street you grew up on, Alicia? Name of your childhood pet is...
And by the way, this is not any of the answers to my security questions, so don't even bother trying to write that down. Street, Parkbrook, and pet. I can't remember that darn dog's name.
First one you can remember.
Sasha.
Sasha what?
I think it was Sasha.
What was the name of the street?
Parkbrook.
Sasha Parkbrook. That's excellent. That is an excellent one. Go ahead, Matt. What's yours?
Citadel Charlie.
Citadel Charlie. That's perfect. I'm Sunny Arrowhead.
Oh.
Ooh.
I know,
There
right?
you go.
Yeah.
Sunny Arrowhead. All right.
You could probably fit that into a ham name somehow.
How did we get to this from there? Okay. All right. Let's.
Because I'm here. I sidetrack.
Okay. Mastering Self-Defense Week. Here's the next thing we need you to know about. Mastering with a capital MAS. March 6, 7, 8, and 9, you can train with Masad Ayub, which he's about as, that's like the top. He's the guy. I can't really think of anyone that maybe is even his equal. He's been around and so that long. He's done so much. He's so well respected by everyone. Tickets go on sale November 20th. Save the date now and put a reminder to sign up for the classes on the 20th. So that's training with Masad Ayub, March 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, but it's coming up on the 20th. You're going to have to mark your calendar and make a decision on the 20th, and this is going to sell out. So by all means, jump on this early. You know who Masad Ayub
yes.
is. Yeah.
I've heard of him.
Nah, I don't know.
I know, but I don't know. Do you agree? I can't really think like who else is even in his league. You know, I mean, there's a lot of really good guys, really talented guys, but they haven't been around since the '60s.
That are in multi formats of self-defense.
You know what I mean? I mean,
offense.
Yeah, this is going to be something that you're going to be telling people for decades that you got to take a class with Masad Ayub. And that's gonna be like your trump card when you're sitting around the range, like, well, I took a class with Masad Ayub. That'll be that, All right,
So I'm going to win. Never have I ever. Is what you're saying?
Right, exactly.
Right.
How much is it?
It's a 4 day. It's 4 days, and it's 2 days of class, 2 days of live range, and you can decide to do either or both.
Oh, okay.
And I don't recall the numbers, Rich. 500 each.
Yeah, or 1,000 for both.
Correct. So yeah, if you want to do the 2 days of classroom only, like if you just want to spend some time with Masad, $500. If you want to do the live range portion, that's $500. If you want to do all 4 days, it's a total of 1,000.
Nice. Okay. And then the last thing I want you to know is our monthly meetings are coming up, not this week, but next week, the 19th, the 20th, and the 21st. Come to San Diego County Gun Owners Monthly Meeting. We'll give a little bit of a election wrap up, and then there's all kinds of other things to talk about, and just being around other gun owners is a lot of fun. So check us out, 19, 20, and 21. It's going to be North County Shooting Center on the 19th up in San Marcos, and then the 20th is.
I believe that's here.
Is that here? Okay. 20th is here, Discount Gun Mart. And then the 21st is LaBella's Pizza. If you're making your decision solely based on pizza, the 21st is probably the meeting you want to go to because LaBella's is pretty good. All right. Okay. So I guess now let's talk to Sam. Is Sam, has he called in yet? Is he up and running?
Not yet.
All right. Well, then,
Come back to that.
then we need to talk more about pizza for a few minutes. Sam's,
Only if there's pineapple.
and ham. Have you, by the way, are you familiar? Have you heard our segment with Sam the Gunman?
I have. He's your
Nephew.
Yeah, and he knows all.
It's
right?
pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
If he asks me a question, I'm scared.
I'm pretty intimidated.
That would be fun for Sam to give a question.
Yeah,
I'm going to flip my screen so that Mike can see the
So
question.
you and I were talking earlier, Matt, how we met at Qualcomm. You worked for Qualcomm.
Yeah, that's right.
And the club, I was given a talk about the Second Amendment. What was the name of the group, though?
It's Q Shooters.
Q Shooters.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, that was intimidating for me.
Wow.
Because I'm going, these guys are they know everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
If I I'm gonna get a bunch of people. I'm gonna say something, and I'm gonna get a bunch of people. Well, actually, actually, it's not quite what And I'm like, oh my god. So I remember thinking to myself, okay, your notes have to be perfect. Don't shoot from the hip.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to say, I'm not sure, but I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah.
And then get the hell out of there as soon as you can.
That's funny because
because you guys are all so smart.
Well, yeah, but I agree with that for sure. It's great to work with people that are always smarter than you are, right? So you always have something to go further and learn. But I remember, and I have prided myself since I was a kid, really loving the Bill of Rights, Constitution, and really I love history, American history especially. And then I heard you talk, and I'm like, wow, there were so many things in there that I honestly didn't know or I got wrong. And so,
Well, good.
and I that was incredibly impressive, and that got me engaged more into. And I always thought that your group was the most, as far as I ever saw, was the most active, and seemed to have an effect. Where so many other groups never had an effect, or I felt that way. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus here, but there were groups I was involved with, and never seemed like it was going anywhere.
Well, I appreciate that. I truly, it's a lot of pressure.
I bet.
A lot of pressure on, like when you say, hey, I'm going to start a Second Amendment organization and we're going to change the world.
Yeah.
That's pretty
not light.
Pretty big claim.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, what was the Q shooters? What exactly were the Q shooters? Oh, what are you showing them?
I just let him
Don't
preview
read
the
it.
question.
Don't read it out
Not
loud because he
Oh.
doesn't. Yeah, not yet. But you're going to read him the question once he gets on. I think I told him.
wow.
6:15. Yeah,
Oh,
right.
that's so cool.
I don't know if he's going to know this. I don't think he's going to know this one.
Oh.
I don't
I
say
think
that.
he
a lot.
might.
I don't
He's
say
on?
that a lot. He's on? Okay, cool. All right, so now let's talk to Sam. Okay, put the dough back and donate. Orange County gun owners, that's our focus today. Please go and make a donation. $10, $50, whatever you can donate. Go to ocgunowners.com, make a donation today. This, of course, is Stump My Nephew. We found out years ago that my nephew is extremely good at gun trivia. So if you send in a trivia question and we use it on the air, you'll get a hat or a shirt. If you stump my nephew, then we get an extremely special prize. This segment is sponsored by Seal One. Go to seal1.com to learn more about their cleaning product. Again, that's seal1.com. Seal One makes gun ownership easier and smell better. Seal One is a excellent cleaner and solvent, and they put their money where their mouth is when it comes to supporting the Second Amendment, too. They do a lot for Gun Owners Radio and San Diego County gun owners. So thank you so much, Seal One. You guys do a fantastic job. Matt, you ever use Seal One?
Yes, I have. Yes, I'm a Marine, so COP. But I'm sorry, Seal One. Yeah, it's good stuff though.
You know the guy who Dwight, the guy who runs it, was a SEAL. That's why it's called Seal One. That's where it comes from.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So, all right. Okay. So here we go. Sam, you there?
Yeah, how are you guys?
Good, man. How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good, but I heard you say that this is a tough one and you don't think I'll get it, so I don't know how long that'll last.
Sam,
I gotta tell you.
I think you got it.
I got to tell you, I don't think you're going to get. Here's why I don't think you can get it. It's not has nothing to do with you, obviously, but it is one of those questions that kind of falls outside of your extensive and broad body of knowledge. But it falls into a category that you've struggled with in the past.
That's true.
And it's a little bit of I don't think it's obvious. I think there's another answer that most people would guess. So I think there's a very valid other option, and I think that might trip you up. So those two reasons, I don't think you're going to get
But
it.
you know how it's going to go. He's going to talk through and get
You just talk
both.
through it, yeah. So all right. So Matt, we're going to have you read it. Go for it.
Great. Okay, let me bring this microphone over a bit. Okay, so Matt from Imperial Beach asks, question, the most produced firearm in the world ever is the AK-47 with between 40 million and 150 million produced. What is the most produced musket?
Matt from Imperial Beach, thanks for writing in. What was the most produced musket? So first of all, I've heard conflicting information on what the most produced modern firearm in the world is. Some sources have listed Mauser bolt-action rifles as at 100 million examples, but I don't have exact numbers in front of me.
And this
But,
was a chasm. Like between 40 million and 150 million AKs. They also,
it's hard to say.
I had the same thing. I looked it up. There is a source on Wikipedia that does back this, but then it is an AK-74 and AK-47, or is it just AK-47s, or are they counting AK-74s too? I agree. It is kind of misleading. But go ahead. Where'd he go?
He might just be thinking.
It's hamster it's running.
The computer.
Yeah.
Is he still there?
Yeah, he's there.
Where are we at, Sam?
You're back?
Yeah, so there you go. All right, go for it.
Sorry, you cut out. So my conjecture for the most produced musket, because as you said, I don't know this exactly. I would say that it was probably the British land pattern, commonly known as the Brown Bess, just because they were in production and service for. But let me try and think through this. So that's a possibility because they used them for a really, really long time. Another possibility might be the French Charleville pattern because those were also produced and used for a long time.
Final answer. Any other possibilities or final answer? We having technical difficulties? What's going on?
I think it stutters.
Are you there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. What do you got? What's your final answer?
Are you there?
I'm there. Yeah. What? Yep. Go ahead. Give
Sorry,
the
what
answer
was
when
the
you
last thing you heard me say?
We haven't heard anything. You said it might be the
Brown Best.
Yeah, Brown Best. Then you talked about the French model, and then that's it. So what do you got? Was there a third option or a final answer? Go for it.
We have perfect internet here. I think he's stalling.
This is a tough one. I think he's got me, but I'll just go with the Brown Bess.
So I got to tell you, that's exactly the trap I was referring to. That's what I would have said as well. But,
Mike's smile got so big when you said that, Sam.
but that is not what it is. The answer, according to this source, is the Modele 1777, which is let's see, French Revolutionary. It was part of a weapon family with numerous variants. Example for the light infantry, artillery, and musketoon for the cavalry. After the French Revolutionary Wars, first Consul Napoleon Bonaparte commissioned a rework, some minor modifications on the lock, bayonet, and stock resulted in 1800 in the corrected model, also called the Modele 1777. I think you pronounced it correctly, Sam. How do you pronounce that? Coringi or? My French.
I didn't hear the first part of your answer. Sorry.
It's the French version, and they actually produced. Yeah, they produced 7 million compared to the Brown Bess about 4.5 million. So, Matt from Imperial Beach, you successfully stumped my nephew.
Boo.
Anyway, good job, Sam. As always, I mean, you technically got the right answer, but then didn't get the right answer.
It was definitely
I
French.
talked myself out of it.
Yeah.
I have a request, Sam.
Sure.
Here. Off the top of your head, can you give us a question for our guest to answer?
Yeah, there you go.
Ooh. Give me an area. Give me a subject matter.
I don't know. History of guns. I don't know. What are you particularly good at, Matt? We'll give you
Oh man, military weapons. I think I'm better at than typical everything else.
some kind of historic military weapons question.
Or something about a military weapon, maybe how fast it shoots, or I don't know,
something like that.
something like that.
What do you got, Sam?
Okay, historic military weapons. I can do that. The M14 is tied for shortest service life of a standard U.S. Infantry long arm at about 7 years. What is it tied with?
Oh wow. Okay. There are hamsters turning in my head. So that's the lifespan of the typical how long the M14 would last in the field?
No, how long it was in service.
In actual service, military service. You're saying an M14 was only in military service for 7 years?
As the standard long arm.
Oh,
it was
as a
adopted
standard
in
long arm. Okay.
1957,
Okay.
replaced in 1964 or thereabouts.
And what was it tied with? Oh,
Yes.
I'm going to take a long shot guess and go with the BAR.
Nope.
One more guess.
It was actually the Lee Navy,
Nope,
which the
there you
Marines
go.
used for a period of.
Yeah.
Oh no! Wait! Take that back. Not the Lee Navy. It was
the
the
BAR.
what
Kidding.
was concurrently served with the Lee Navy. It was the M1892 that the Army had in 3040 Krag, the Krag Jorgensen, of which only I want to say 3 countries fielded Krag Jorgensen.
You just
the
stumped
U.S.
yourself.
No, sorry. I had the Lee Navy on the mind from work. It was the Krag Jorgensen, which served concurrently with the Lee Navy. The Krag Jorgensen was only in service for 7 years, roughly.
As the
Even
main
though it was
service
adopted in 1892, they had a lot of early production difficulties with it.
Wow.
There you go. All right. Awesome. All right. Thank you, Sam. Awesome job. You got a blog you want to talk about before we let you go?
Next one coming up is an interesting one. Try not to get too mad. That's all I'll say.
Try not to get too mad.
What? When is it going to be up?
It should be up tomorrow morning for you, Monday.
Wow. Okay. Why would somebody? Well, now I'm interested. Why would? That's a good little hook. Why would someone? Can you tell us more? Why would somebody get mad?
We gun guys like to argue, and we like to get really opinionated about the guns we like and do not like. And a lot of people have decided that a certain class of firearms is bad without what I see as any real reasoning.
Wow.
That's all I'll say.
What do you think?
He's defending the high point.
I'm not. No.
Sorry, that was cheap.
Wow, I wonder what it is. We really do, man. I got to tell you, and that's kind of where I was. When I was telling you, I was intimidated when I went to the Q shooters.
Yeah,
because I was. That's probably what I was most afraid of. Is like somebody in here has an opinion, that
and they
is
do.
well researched.
Yeah,
I'm not going to have as many facts. You know what I mean? That's what. And I'm sure Q shooters. There was a debate or two that broke out in those meetings.
Well, mainly, I think that group, some really knowledgeable people in precision shooting and things like that. Yeah. That's where that knowledge is. I don't think so much in the law. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, I think you did very, very well.
What you say you do long distance, right?
Yeah, or I did. Now that I Lee and I do more CQB and stuff like that because he always just said, "Hey Matt, you've got that handled. Come with us and do this more fun stuff." And night vision shooting, been doing a lot of that. So go ahead.
So Sam, you're still there?
Yep.
Okay, so Sam just acquired a Steyr SSG-04 in 300 Win Mag with a Leupold 25 power scope. And what would you recommend? Somebody that gets a long range rifle like that, and they want to get into it. What kind of recommendations would you make?
Well, Paul is really good to go shoot at if he's local.
He's in Virginia.
Oh, Virginia. Oh, wow. Well, I'm sure he already knows about the CMP program.
But I mean, if he wants to learn how to use the rifle he's got, what's some advice you have? If he's just getting into long distance shooting.
There used to be this person that I watched endlessly. He's up in Montana, and it's like a 20 episode course on YouTube. It's kind of aged. What is the guy's name? He's easy to find. He goes over scope types. He goes over ballistics. He goes over. One of the main things I'd say is to get into a dongle instead of a Kestrel. Don't get the Kestrel per se. I've been taught to use the dongle, and that beams to your phone, so you'll get all your ballistics there. With Ballistics Arc is the app.
What is a dongle?
A dongle is
that sounds like an Australian beer.
I was trying to. The company that makes it is involved with ballistic art. It's called Geoballistics, and this thing picks up all the weather and the temperature and the barometrics, and then uses all that data to put it on your phone and help you calculate a shot.
Wow. Okay.
And instead of having to use a Kestrel where you type it all in.
Yeah.
And then furthering that vague description of the YouTube course with the 20 episodes on there, I will follow up and tell you who that is, but it's pretty easy to find.
Okay.
I don't see him there.
No? All right.
He has a very distinctive name, but he's very easy to find. That is excellent. The best teacher I ever learned from was Tyler Hughes at Max Ordnance Academy up in.
Yeah.
And I think
Heard
he
a lot
does
of good
travel
things about
around the country. But of all the courses I've ever taken, sorry to everybody else, the Tyler Hughes is the best that I've ever learned from.
A lot of good feedback about that guy.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. He competes. He doesn't just sit on his laurels from being a Marine Corps sniper. He's competed for years. He does mountaineering. He does inclination shooting. He does movers. He does helicopters. He teaches. He's excellent. And he used to be local here, and then now it's mostly up in Northern California, and then mid Central Valley and Vegas. But he does travel around a lot, and if you can get a course with him, I highly, highly recommend it.
It really does seem it's so complicated, or it's so intricate, and there's so much going on. It does seem like, take a course.
It's wonderful. Like I would naturally expect your nephew to get into reloading, because that's the next addiction that comes along with long range shooting.
You do some reloading, don't you?
I do. I reload 38 special, which is dead simple to reload. A friend of mine, a guy I used to work with, is a serious precision shooter, and I've seen his reloading setup. It is a room in his house.
Yeah. And you just can't have just one. Once you start doing that and you're matching your rounds to your rifle, I go from everything from 9mm that I thought was silly to reload, and then COVID hit, and then it was gangbusters all the time, and then all the way up to 338 Lapua or whatever.
Like, I kind of put you on the spot, but what is do you have a first move in mind that you're going to make, Sam?
I don't know. I've got to talk to this precision shooter buddy of mine and pick his brain about how to even get started in the hobby.
Nice. All right.
Money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Swear, man.
Yeah, that's an expensive sport. I'm not sure which is more expensive, night vision or precision shooting.
Yes.
Yes, all of that.
And then precision shooting at night. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, got to get a PVS 22 or a 28 or a 30. Yeah.
Are those panos?
Go ahead.
What's that?
Are those panos?
No, I have panos with me actually, but and I actually have some that I 3D printed as well in the bag there.
Oh wow!
But these are actual for mounting on your rifle with your high end scope, so you can see at night and take those really long shots. PVS 22s are for shorter range, kind of mid range, 100, 300 yards, and then like PVS 28, PVS 30. There's always a sweet spot about how far you can shoot with that.
Nice.
At night.
All right, let's do a thanks, Sam. Awesome job as always. Appreciate you, and I look forward to not getting mad at your article tomorrow. That'll be interesting.
Thanks for having me on.
You bet, man. All right, let's do a wrap up here about the election. First off, how engaged were you, Matt? Did you watch the? Pretty
engaged.
Yeah.
I'm traditionally a hardcore libertarian, pretty much, and I've always been involved. I was really involved in the Ron Paul campaigns back when he ran a few times, and even before that. And there was Gary Johnson on one election.
I remember Gary.
Yeah, and yeah. Very engaged.
Did you watch on Tuesday night?
Oh, yeah.
Alicia, were you watching on Tuesday night?
To be honest, I went to bed and I woke up happy.
I got to tell you, this year I went to bed too. I was like, Mike, you're not staying up all friggin' night waiting for the return. So I took a look around 10 o'clock just to kind of see where things were, mostly locally. And then, I went to bed.
It's about when I went up too. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
My kids stayed up and they woke me.
Well, I got to tell you, they woke you?
Yeah, they were watching. Yeah.
What time did they wake you?
I don't recall. I didn't even look at the clock.
But they woke you to tell you that Trump won? Is
yes,
that what they woke you?
They did.
I got to tell you, this was the most interesting presidential election, I think, in U.S. history.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just no question. For the president to drop out, appoint his vice president. The opponent is a former president running for office again, and at least 2 assassination attempts. Mm-hmm. I mean, this whole thing was
weird,
pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So
it does seem like it's obvious, but to me, it seems like every election or every set of choices you get just keeps becoming more and more of a crazy story each election cycle. as it moves on through time.
There is a lot of time. One of the things that's particularly interesting, and as you all know, everybody who's listened to this show for any length of time, I am not a conspiracy theorist. I don't like conspiracy theories. Some of them are kind of fun, but I was particularly against the idea of a stolen election, mainly because I saw it influencing people to not participate in the election. They're like, well, it got stolen, therefore I'm just not going to vote. Wrong. Wrong. And so we had people on, had an attorney on, a Republican attorney who was very involved with, with election integrity in California, probably the expert, a guy named Mark, what's his last name, Mauser? Anyway, the expert of the subject, and he was like, no. He said, yeah, I'm sure some people cheated here and there, but he said, we have absolutely no reason to believe, no evidence that in California there was any kind of cheating that affected, the outcome, whatever. Anyway, I say all that, and I'm noticing other people are noticing the same thing. 4 years ago, Biden got 80 million votes, which was by far more votes than any other presidential candidate ever got.
You looking at the bar graph?
Well, I've seen
a bar graph.
I've seen a bunch of different versions of it now, and right now Kamala is at about 71 million, and Trump's at 74.5 million. And what people are pointing out is that folks in the past on the Democrat side have all got, they've all gotten around 70 million. No one's gotten this 81 million that Biden got. And I'm waiting to see. They're still counting votes. A couple of days ago, Kamala was at like 68 million. Now she's ticked up a little bit. I'm looking to see, but I think it's extremely interesting that there was this bubble, 4 years ago that went up to 80 million. So, and I'm noticing that other people noticed the same thing, which is particularly interesting.
That was where it got really frustrating in the North, where, Florida votes instantaneously, right? And then there was all that trouble with ballots suddenly appearing like in extreme amounts in these gaps. So again, agree with you on the conspiracy theory stuff, but that it was suspect. And where the left went really wrong there, I think, is where they said they repeatedly said there's zero, like there's no fraud. Well, okay. I completely disagree because I get my son's at college. My daughter's working, either was at Disney, now at a winery local in Temecula. I get both their ballots. Now, there is no way you can tell me I didn't have the opportunity to send this in for them.
Right.
That's fraud right there.
Right.
For you to say there's zero fraud, that just makes
it makes it more suspicious.
Yeah, and everybody just goes, well, I'm not an idiot.
Right.
There's some fraud, so please don't tell me there's none.
Well, I think that those numbers, that's something to watch. Obviously, Trump won a clean sweep of all the battleground states, which is phenomenally amazing. I didn't even suspect that was going to happen. But I think I got to tell you, what this does for, forget all his policies. Without even mentioning his policies, what he does the next 4 years, what that does to the courts is going to be a lifetime of benefit for gun owners. His ability to appoint judges in the Ninth Circuit, to the Supreme Court, to other circuit courts is phenomenal. I mean, it gives us this huge tool for success going forward. But on top of that, I'm already seeing him saying, hey, we're going to get reciprocity, that he wants to support reciprocity. Now, he can't do that. He doesn't have a magic wand. That's not how the executive branch works. But basically sending that signal and saying, hey, with a Senate and a House of Representatives that are both supposedly pro-Second Amendment, we could possibly get reciprocity, which would mean that your CCW would work all over the country. Huge. That's huge. Those are huge, huge things. One interesting thing that's kind of funny is Democrats. There have already been some serious Democrats that are saying, okay, we need Sotomayor to step down right now because she's having some health problems. She's not old, but she's older and she's having some health problems. We don't want to risk losing that appointment. So there's a serious effort right now, a serious discussion going on to whether or not they should kick Supreme Court Justice Sotomayor off the Supreme Court and replace her, which I kind of hope they do. But
right now
I hope
or next year?
no. Well, before Trump gets into office,
Okay.
because I hope they do. I hope they talk her into stepping down, and then I hope the Senate holds off, and then Trump gets to
wow.
I would totally backfire on.
Wow.
How awesome would that be?
Classic.
But it's such an extreme thing. We're going to kick Sotomayor out so we can appoint somebody before.
Wow, hadn't even considered. The one thing that I did watch the aftermath, which was way more interesting to me than the actual election, where I watched CNN and NBC and kept going down that line, and they call it the autopsy.
Yeah.
And I just don't think they said something went wrong. Something's wrong here. Is it our message? And since we're on a 2A show here, it's like you do see an occasional Democrat, or you used to, that'd be like not so gun control, like crazy about that. And I'm hoping that they look at it and go, is this really a hill we want to die on? Like, why? Like, they didn't used to be so extreme.
I think with the makeup of the White House and Congress and hopefully the court system, and then combine that with some of the progress we've had. I mean, we have more people with CCWs in this county, in this state, in this country than ever before. With all that wind to our back, it almost is. I hope it doesn't matter anymore. Like, it doesn't matter who opposes it anymore.
Right.
But like I said at the top of the show, the work still has to get done. Like, it's not just going to magically happen if people just sit around and go, well, here we go, John. But it's still, it's been amazing. But,
well, if you're going to strike now. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Make hay while the sun shines.
Be proactive, not defensive in that aspect.
So that's the president, and I'm very, very happy. I mean, I really am. From a Second Amendment standpoint, there's no argument to be made that Kamala wouldn't have been anything other than a complete and total disaster for your gun rights.
Yeah, Colin Noir was a good. He would constantly comment on that. That was quite entertaining.
Yeah, I just so the fact that Donald Trump won is a very, very good thing for gun owners. Let's talk about a couple other things in the as far as federal, as far as House of Representatives and Senate. Nationally, I think pro-gun people are going to take the Senate and take back the House, and I think it's going to be a very, very good thing locally here in San Diego and in Orange County and in Southern California in general. It was okay. There were a couple of things that didn't happen that we wish would have. Like locally, the mayor of El Cajon, who's a fantastic guy, his name's Bill Wells, great gun guy, went up against Sarah Jacobs, who's the heir of or one of the descendants of the Qualcomm fortune, and she bought her way back in. She won by 60-40, basically. I mean, it was just phenomenal. Despite the fact that Bill Wells just ran such a great campaign, did such a good job. So we were hoping. Matt Gunderson is extremely close. He ran up in the 49th district, which straddles Orange County and San Diego. It doesn't look like he's going to win, but man, he's close, and they're actually still counting ballots. Orange County, he did better than he did here in San Diego. So hopefully the two combined, and if they count a few more ballots his way, he might still take office. We'll see. Of course, Daryl Issa won handily against a guy named Stephen Houlihan from Santee, who's kind of he technically, he's actually not bad on guns, to be honest with you. He used to live in Alaska, and he's really not that bad on guns. I think he's moved to the left on guns, but because he's moved to the left on everything else. But he's no match for Daryl Issa. I mean, just the reality of it. And of course, poor Steve Garvey just didn't win. Adam Schiff, way too popular.
It doesn't get any more incumbent than that.
Yeah, it really doesn't. Let's talk about the state. Let's see. A couple of, like Christy Bruce Lane, we really like. And we hoped she had a chance of winning in the 76th district for the assembly. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like she won. But the big one, of course, Lori Davies. I think Lori Davies lost. She's in another district that straddles Orange County and San Diego, and it doesn't look like Lori won enough votes in Orange County. When I looked at it, it looked like she wasn't going to win. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully they're still counting votes, and she's good to go, which is unfortunate. So that's why I say federally, great job. Locally, great job. But on the state level, we lost a couple of folks that we were hoping to keep in office, and a couple of folks were supposed to get in office. Of course, the most interesting race that I want to talk about is one of them. There's two. One of them is Carl DeMaio versus Andrew Hayes. Both of them are Republicans. Both of them, agree on the issues. There's just no daylight between the two of them. San Diego County gun owners looked at this race and said, you know what? Either way, we win. They're both pro-gun, Unfortunately, a lot of Republican leaders looked at that race and said, I want to pick my favorite. I'm not going to pick somebody who's more Republican than the other guy, or, I want to pick my favorite guy. And they spent a lot of time and effort trying to make sure, particularly that Andrew Hayes beat Carl DeMaio. No, he didn't. Carl won. Carl won pretty handily, 58% of the vote. So it's unfortunate, though. I really think that had their gamble paid off, and Andrew won, then they'd probably look like geniuses. But the reality is it didn't. It didn't pay off. And so I would make the argument that their preference towards Andrew Hayes didn't do anything for the constituents, didn't do anything for the Republican Party. This was purely, hey, this is my favorite. And that what they should have done is looked at that and said, hey, you know what? With this race, a Republican wins either way. An effective Republican wins either way. A leader in the Republican Party wins either way. We should not get into some kind of mudslinging contest. No one elected these Republican leaders. No one follows these Republican leaders in order to do damage to other Republicans. They do it so that they advance a set of values and principles. And I don't think that they were advancing a set of values or principles, and they didn't have their constituents in mind when they decided to back Andrew Hayes and attack Carl DeMaio so heavily.
Andrew Hayes, what is he known for? I know nothing of
School district.
School district?
Yeah, so that's why he lost.
Okay.
He's a great guy. I've known him for years.
Okay.
He and I go have lunch together, and he's been super helpful.
Okay.
But he's worked for other politicians in office. He's on the Lakeside School Board. He's a wonderful guy. He's an absolutely wonderful guy. But Carl DeMaio's been on the radio. Carl DeMaio has done...
I know Carl DeMaio,
everybody. So the name ID alone, that's why he won. But Carl earned his name ID. It's not like he's notorious. He won his name ID from working
years.
working hard for
losing a lot. Yeah,
he did. He lost a few races, but he at least was putting up the fight. A tax was coming down the pike or whatever. He at least put up the fight and put his name out there.
You know how arduous, or I'd say painful, it is to watch San Diego from afar. Now being a Riverside County person and watching the battle go on down there, and being a San Diego County gun owners member. And you're very involved there, and then it's a whole new world up in Riverside.
It is different.
Yeah, I tried my best.
So the other interesting thing, so Carl DeMaio, congratulations. He's always been a extremely supportive guy when it comes to San Diego County gun owners. Andrew Hayes, we truly appreciate everything you do. You also have been supportive of San Diego County gun owners. And, thank you both for fighting the fight. Carl won, and we look forward to the future. The other interesting thing is there were two districts that were very, very similar as far as demographics, the makeup, and that is the city of San Diego, and then District 2 for the county board, which was Kevin Faulkner, who we endorsed, running against Tara Lawson-Remer. If you look at the two districts, very, very similar. The city of San Diego was Larry Turner and Todd Gloria. It's bigger. It's a little bit more diverse, obviously, than just one district. That one district basically is about a fifth of the county. But as far as registered Democrats and that sort of thing, the two districts look very, very, very similar. They look very similar. And the interesting thing is Larry Turner, who retired from the Marine Corps and then he was a cop, was kind of treated as I don't want to say a joke, but nobody took him seriously. You're running for mayor. Come on.
As an independent, right?
Yeah, as an independent.
Yeah.
He was an independent, but he was kind of a but I'm a Republican.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
But he really tried to build a coalition that wasn't entirely based on Republicans. So totally respect that.
Okay.
So he ran as an independent. And then you had, so Todd Gloria and Larry Turner. Again, people looked at Larry Turner and said, it's not serious. There's no way you can win in that district. We're not going to take him seriously. Barely able to raise money, which makes it extremely difficult to get your message out. Kevin Faulconer, even though he was in a very similar situation as far as the district and he was running against an incumbent, both Todd Gloria and Tara Lawson-Raymer are extremist left-wing Democrats. It was a very similar situation, right? But money poured into his campaign. He's going to win. This is going to be great. We finally have a contender.
Yeah.
Something like, close to $3 million was spent. Now, the interesting thing is they both lost by 10%.
Wow.
Both. So all this money poured into the city of San Diego for to the county race for Kevin Faulconer, and barely any money was spent with Larry Turner in the city of San Diego, and they ended up
both
in the same spot, basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which was right around the registration, as far as Republicans. So it's unfortunate, but I think it's an interesting. There are steps you can take. You can go door to door. You can make phone calls. You can send out mailers and flyers and whatever. But at the end of the day, there are so many non-tangible things, people's perception and what the voter, thinks about each person. It's just really, really interesting. You still have to take I'm not saying that the steps that were taken are ineffective. I'm just saying that you can do everything right, you can
still lose.
And still lose.
Yeah.
You can run this scientific race that we're going to do all the things that you're supposed to. And even if you put all the ingredients together, it still might not make a cake.
Yeah, and both sides, like in San Diego that I've seen, the bar owners, the local businesses, regardless of their political beliefs, I've never heard, Todd Gloria as being a good mayor. It just seems like he's the ultimate political machine, and that's it, hollow.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly don't envy trying to turn San Diego, the city, around. I mean, gosh, what a disaster! And their city council is pretty bad. We didn't even endorse anybody for city council. That's
Wow!
So everybody, it's horrible. Like the incumbents, people running like that. There are 9 of them, and it's just a horrible situation. So I don't envy him being the mayor, but he's just not doing a good job. But they voted for him. They voted for him. Okay, so let's talk about some of the positives. Santee was a big positive. Santee, all the right people won. The mayor, John Minto, Laura Caval, Dustin Trotter, who is fantastic, cleaned up. So Santee is rock solid. El Cajon, again, another rock solid. Phil Ortiz and Michelle out there, those guys won. Did a fantastic job. Congratulations. Out in Escondido, our 2 endorsed candidates won. So we picked up a couple of seats there, which is absolutely wonderful. Oceanside, our endorsed candidate Ryan Keim beat Sanchez, who was the mayor there, and she was anti-gun. She was definitely an extremist in other ways. We got her to do a couple of things, kind of some meaningless things for us, that she just was like, I'm not going to fight this fight, But at her core, she was not pro-Second Amendment. Ryan is. So we picked that up, and that was fantastic. So some good things happened. I'm really, really proud of the way that we conducted ourselves and the endorsements that we made. Orange County had a guy named Mike Munzing up in Orange County on the city council. That guy's wonderful. He won and beat the pants off his competition, and that's fantastic. But I want to special thanks to the guys that run the tabletops that distributed so many voter guides. They were the forward-facing guys that were really getting the message out there. Garrison and Baldwin and the 2 Ricks, both Ricks, and Tyler, and I'm going to miss some people. Elliot and Roy. You guys were such leaders. They months ago sat down, had a call, and said, all right, let's break this up. Let's have as many tabletops as we can possibly have. Let's distribute as many voter guides as we possibly can. I had to go get more voter guides printed about halfway through the election season because they were passing out. So John Becker, I'm so glad I didn't forget John. He's great. That's how you win. They were taking the steps. That's how you win. Getting this information in front of people, tapping into the gun world and saying, hey guys, this is the drum beat. Let's all march to it, and paid off big. So thank you guys so much for doing such a fantastic job. But yeah, so we did well. The locals, we had some real steps forward. Federal, I've never been this excited. I've never been this excited about how the federal government looks as far as Second Amendment. And then unfortunately the state level didn't look so good. But we just got to keep fighting. So, what do you think, Alicia? Any thoughts?
Well, just like you stated, I think federally, I think it was just, and we've talked about this over the last couple of weeks, the whole idea of, you mentioned the Supreme Court, right? This is a turning point. We potentially have 3 Supreme Court justices that are likely going to be dropping out in the next year or two, right? And who would be deciding who gets to replace them? That could be huge as far as the impact that it has on our Second Amendment rights, all of our cases coming through. And I think that's just a huge, massive relief for me.
We had by the way, we had one thing I wanted to mention too in Coronado. Coronado had a pool of people running for city council. So you got to vote for 2 of them. So it was one big list, and the top 2 vote getters got in. And 2 guys named Mark Fleming and Mark Warner, wanted our endorsement. Only one of them got it, and it was Mark Fleming, and he got the most votes out of everybody, kind of by far. So our guy, Mark Fleming, I think that proves that our endorsement is extremely important.
Makes a difference.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, people were asking me in Riverside, like, who, where, in certain positions, and I just went and researched it myself and then passed that out. But
well, I got to introduce you to Inland Empire gun owners.
Right.
We have a vote. We put up a voter guide for Riverside and San Bernardino.
Oh, you did. I looked and it was out of date at the time, so I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. I'll make sure we.
Yeah, but it was fairly easy to figure out. I mean, some of the areas where it's very, very niche, school boards, things like that, not so much. Or judges, or yeah.
Well, it was great, especially like City of Escondido. Dane, the mayor, is a great guy, Dane White, and we got 2 more folks to help him: Christian Garcia and Judy Fitzgerald. Judy Fitzgerald is both of them are extremely pro Second Amendment, but Judy Fitzgerald did such a good job. She's already aggressively done things that are pro Second Amendment and had this great track record. Christian Garcia is a true believer when it comes to Second Amendment. And then the very best for last. So our board member, Jim Miller, founding board member of San Diego County Gun Owners, from the assault weapons ban case, Miller versus Bonta, who the only time, until this past week, the only time we've had a positive ruling on an assault weapons case was the Miller case, and we had 2 of them. And he was running for re-election. I just want to imagine, here's a school board member who put his name on a lawsuit for an assault weapons ban. Now, had he lost, how bad would that have looked?
Bad.
It would have looked bad.
Yeah.
He had a guy who, one of his colleagues on the board, who's done absolutely nothing but complain since he got on the board. Not a single issue, nothing's passed. This guy's done absolutely nothing but sit there and complain. And he got tired of not getting his way, and he would throw these fits. So he ran somebody against Jim. Now, there were 2 other open seats on that board. So open seats. Nobody was running. So they could have recruited, he could have said, hey, I want people to whatever, be on, align with me on whatever. He could have gone and recruited 2 other people to open up or to run on these other 2 seats. Instead, he recruited somebody to run against Jim Miller.
Wow.
And one of the people, the reason one of the seats was open is that she was going to step down and retire. She was done. But because of this guy, his name is Anthony Carnevale, because he's such a extremist and so difficult and so ineffective, she actually ran again, just to offset his vote, just to make sure that they could handle him. She actually ran again. She was done. She was ready to move on, but she said, "No, I'm gonna run again." And so Anthony Carnevale, he recruited this guy Alex Welling to run, and it caused this huge problem. We definitely had to put a lot of effort into his race. There were 3 people: Jim Miller, a Democrat, kind of real left-wing, extremist, and then this guy Alex Welling that was recruited to try to take Jim out. And Jim Jim came in first. Welling came in third place.
Wow.
Didn't even finish in second place, and got like 2 or 3 times as many votes.
Wow.
As Welling, like just absolutely clobbered him. So very happy about that. I think his colleague Anthony Carnevale is a problem, and I think a lot of people agree is a problem. And I think that Jim winning so handily was a mandate. And that, Anthony Carnevale is going to run again in 2 years. And I think he has a very short window of time to prove to people he's not a big whiny baby and he can actually do effective work and he can actually get along with people, and do things that the voters value. Or I think we're going to have another victory on our hands, and we're going to be able to run somebody against him and get him out of there because what he did is inexcusable. So we'll have to see, but congratulations to Jim Miller. So there you go. There's your update.
Congrats, Jim.
Absolutely.
All right. What else we got? Anything else we need to touch on? Or are we at the end of the road?
Oh, you want to see those panos?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah. Get them real quick.
Do we need a tactical banana?
Oh, yeah. That goes with it. Let's see. Sorry about the background noise. So these are, I have plenty. This is another thing we're doing at County Laser and County Industries, working on night vision. We partner with a group called AeonTech up in City of Industry.
All right. What do you mean you're working on night vision? Like what?
Building them, collimating them. Collimating is the process where you don't get like googly eyes. So the focus goes like this if they're not collimated properly.
Gotcha.
That's done with a Hoffman machine. Very expensive process. These are 3D printed.
Holy cow.
And I have the production version, which is like I could show those as well. But basically, these are quads or panos,
Wow.
and these are 3D printed. They rotate up, like so forth, so on. We build the little ones with a. Yep, absolutely. I'll grab even the button is 3D printed. The glass in the back, if you look at PVS 14s, which are monos, these are actually cut. You put them in a jig and you cut that PVS 14 lens and make that. You'd have to turn them on, which we can do after the show.
Gotcha.
But, let's see, just one more.
It's
Show you the
amazing. So you
difference.
3D printed this.
Yes.
3D printing has come a long way. There you go. Check that out.
And with the lasers, we like make patterns for all the different night vision firearms, everything, so that it fits in all the little grooves and things. So I have a little site called TactFab, which will be blending into County Laser and such, where we sell patterned vinyl or laser cut Cordura. But like that's another. These are actually like not 3D printed. These are, the quad. So when Lee does those barely training night vision classes,
Yeah.
I was like passing these out, all types of different night vision.
Wow.
Yeah, selling, building, that kind of thing. So
It is amazing. I think it was Lee. We did a night shoot a few years ago, and he brought this basically, and it was the first time I'd ever really looked through night vision. Mm-hmm. Like had like some cheaper, stuff that looks a little bit better. But man, this was like you flipped on a freaking TV.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like just boom. I was looking down a valley and you couldn't see anything. Turn those on, you could see everything.
Oh yeah, and the best
Clearly.
like people who aren't into firearms and that kind of thing, that's fine. Like walk your dog in the middle of the night, and if it's a cloudy sky, we have a lot of light pollution in the cities around here.
Yeah.
And you can stargaze. Like it uses the available light in the sky that maybe your eyes can't pick up. So it'll see right through that cloud cover, and you'll see like you're in deep Mexico or like out in Ocotillo Wells where the sky is all bright. You can see all the stars.
Really? It gets rid of
pollution? Everything in the
That's
way, yeah.
interesting.
And then you have thermal. Those are also 3D printed.
And I don't remember it being like green.
Well, there's different types. So you have white phos, they say, and then green phos, and then you can use filters to do other different colors. But basically, you electrify the cathode, and then that lights them up.
Interesting.
Yeah. That may be a whole nother session.
That is. That's a whole thing. You're already way above my head.
Thermals and fusion, where you put the thermal over the night vision. But I just thought that'd be an interesting thing just to.
So if someone said, if they were just like, hey, I want night vision.
Yeah.
What is that? $3,000, $10,000?
It can be all the way down to, say, a used pair that's like as low, bottom of the barrel, 3D printed. Like I just gave a pair to Morgan Ricky at gunfighter, and I'd say that one's in the realm of 2,500.
Oh, wow.
And these are, so you can go even further down. You can go to digital, where this same project where I'm printing these, you can put a drone camera in it. So you put the screen from the actual pilot side, then you see that side of the tube, and then on the other side you have the camera, and so you can have digital night vision, and it's much, much cheaper. Wow. So we're talking $800.
Wow.
Yeah, where you want to go to night vision, you're talking anywhere from 2,500 to 40,000.
But again, the clarity is. I mean, we're not talking. This isn't.
Yeah.
This isn't like.
It's
Silence of the Lambs.
No. This is like not Gen. Yeah, Gen 2 back when I was in Marine Corps, where Silence of the Lambs. That's about right.
Yeah.
And when a light would come on, you like. But now, the quality is just like, it's amazing.
It was like watching a high def. Yeah, if I remember correctly, it was like watching like a high def black and white TV.
Yeah, that's
It's
a good
kinda what it
description.
looked like,
Yeah,
which who's ever heard of? They didn't have high def black and white, but it was kind of black and white. It was almost color. Like there was it felt like there was a touch of color, but it was really black and white, and it was high definition.
That's why. Like with digital, still that's why we're still not rocking digital, is because there is some lag, right? When you go like that.
Oh, yeah.
So with firearms, it's very dangerous, right? So
Right.
if your buddy's behind you and he's got to take a shot, and there's a second lag, so if you've got modern night vision, Gen 3, white FOS, kind of what you described, you are talking about the same technology as a TV in a way. It's a cathode. It's like a tube.
Yeah.
And there's different types, but that Gen 3 uses a different chemical process. Anyway.
And it didn't feel like you were looking down like a toilet paper tube.
No.
Like you had a lot of peripheral vision.
Exactly. And with the quads, that's the whole point, because then you're getting this much vision, like super wide, versus bino versus singular. And, you can understand how that could be helpful.
Shooting a gun wasn't hard. It wasn't difficult. I picked it up pretty quick.
Yeah.
They were kind of saying like, you kind of got to get used to it. And I get that, but I didn't feel like it was pretty easy.
It's funny. Lee makes jokes about us. He'll film it, and it's us running and gunning through and it's funny how you'll watch these guys and how they make their steps, me included. And, it's humorous.
Why? What do you mean?
Oh, you just tend to overstep and overdo things as you're looking through these tubes. It's still pretty easy, but you still have a firearm in your hands, and you're still making movements, and you're being careful.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming. We're gonna end it here, but tell everybody your website one last time.
Oh, countylaser.com and countyarms.com.
Excellent. And thank you all so much for watching and listening. Tell your friends. Go and help support our sponsors. And again, put the dough back and donate. Go to ocgunowners.com. Give a couple of bucks. And what do you got, Alicia? Anything? You got a parting message? Love the world?
That's it.
Oh, that's sweet. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much. We're out of here. We'll see you next Sunday, 5 to 7. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on any podcast provider. And thank you guys for watching. Thanks, Matt.
Happy birthday, Marine Corps.
There you go. Hey, it's Michael Schwartz from Gun Owners Radio. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Watch us every Sunday from 5 to 7. Go to gunownersradio.com for more information. Check us out on any podcast provider.